Forward typing away. And it's another reverse redaction. My name is Judah McNeil. I'm in a remote location on the shores of North Carolina with, like, I don't know why North Carolina is so far behind on internet, but they are. I can't get any kind of serious Wi-Fi connection. I'm going to let my cohort here, Ford Suze, Jared Putnam, they're going to have to do a lot of the talking for me today. How are you guys doing today?
Pretty good.
Doing good.
No, you're doing well. I hate people that correct
yes.
that.
Yes. I hate that too. Like I always want to be like, yeah, I know. I was a journalist for 10 years. I know.
So as a journalist, what's the big deal? Like, what's the difference? Like, good is a moral thing, well is a state of being or something?
Adjective and adverb in it.
Oh.
Yeah. It's just, it's like someone policing you, and it's almost like someone policing you in text, like, let's relax the rules here a little,
Okay. Well, before we get going, we have to do our simultaneous sigh. As I need it today, I might come in delayed, as it were. But let's get out our, that carbon dioxide that's killing the world, apparently. And let's get that out. At 12 years.
Sorry.
And let's get that out. And together, let's take a simultaneous sigh. It's that simultaneousness that gives us a shot of dopamine. So today, what we're going to do is, it's not going to be a long or, I don't know, it may get long, but what we want to do is just kind of look at fitness and what my efforts are. Well, I think what our efforts are whenever we reverse redact something is take a look. Why do we like it? What is the value that we find in whether it's a piece of art, a cultural system, icon? Now, fitness, or I guess you could say nutrition, health, is not necessarily something. This is the first thing that we've done, other than Bitcoin, I guess, that it's not man-made, or is it?
No, I mean, in its initial form, it's not. We've definitely refined it, but no, it back in the old hunter-gatherer days, it was probably pretty essential.
Yeah.
So with it not being essential anymore, well, I mean, I think there's a certain aspect of it still essential to health.
Yeah. No, I didn't mean that it wasn't essential anymore. I just meant that we've refined it. Like back then, it was just more of a matter of life or death. Now
Right.
it's more of in a certain sense, it's, I guess, still a matter of life or death, but it's just more of a long-term matter of life or death.
And we've compartmentalized it, right? Like, it's thinking about that technology thing. We've had certain technologies that we didn't really think through all the implications of embracing them or basing our societies on them. And then next thing you know, it's like, oh, diabetes, or certain types of cancer. I mean, whatever it might be. I mean, some of it's still mysterious to us, and that's why I think it's gotten so confusing. So because there's so many competing ideas about what's actually healthy and what would be good to get back to and what we need to get away from. So it is it's a difficult dance to figure out.
And we all come to it like with different bodies, which is interesting. It's not a one size fit all type of thing. We each have our own, we have to have our own approach.
Yes.
Where we have different bodies.
So Jared's, you said you're an ectomorph, right? In terms of that classification.
Yeah. The thinnest possible type generally. Yeah.
So I'm half and half. I'm a satyr. I have a below the waist of an ectomorph and above the waist of a mesomorph. Apparently, it's like I have arms of a mesomorph. Actually, maybe so. It's like I'm a chimera, or hydra.
And I'm a fat mesomorph. So we have all the
Almost, yeah. So we don't have any endomorphs in the house.
so what would an endomorph be?
That's the more fatter body type. The one that's has more propensity to have fat on it. Would that be a correct way of putting it, Jared?
I think so. I actually always get those two mixed up, whether mesomorph is the one in the middle or I guess so endomorph is the larger one, the one that's, yeah, I guess so.
Something
I'm
like
definitely
that.
I'm definitely more towards that on the scale.
You're a meso-endo.
I'm a meso-endo.
Endo-meso.
Well, let's get into what is your guys' experience of now, Ford. I know you have a particular philosophy when it comes to exercise. We've got into that a little bit on the Surfing Violinist podcast. But Jared, I want to hear, you said recently you got back into the gym and you've been into sports. I want to hear your story.
Well, I've been into covering sports as a journalist. I was never good at it in high school, but yeah. So when I graduated high school, I'm about 5'11", and at that time I weighed 135 pounds. And it was a combination of stuff like just all these things going on my senior year of high school. Like my dad died. I got the sickest that I've ever been in my life for a week with the flu, to the point where I had a temperature so high that I was like literally hallucinating at one point. So there was more than that going on. So I'm naturally thin, but that was, the lowest I'd ever been in terms of body weight. And then I started going to a friend got me into going to the gym some. And so it just kind of has depended in my life on what's going on in my life. And the best I did with it was back around 2007, I moved out of my hometown and took a job closer to the Alpharetta, Georgia area, and really got going. I actually started back to the gym and even did a personal trainer for, can't remember how long, maybe 3 months or whatever the package was, and then continued with it on my own for 5 or 6 years, and would go 4 or 5, sometimes 6 days a week, and really went. I think I got up to 215 in terms of weight at one point, and a good bit of that was muscle. And then I got into a job that was a daily newspaper, and it really was like practically a 7-day-a-week job. So that just completely derailed my life, derailed fitness and everything else. And so for the past 5 years or so, up until early 2018, I really hadn't done much of anything. And initially I got back into running, hurt my leg, and couldn't run anymore. And actually that was back in 2017. And then 2018, I'm like, well, I've got to do something for cardio. I'm going to get back into the pool. The local fitness club gym has an indoor pool. I'll go do that. And when I went to do that, I realized, I really just need to start lifting weights again too. So I've been doing that back again for the past 18 months or so. And right now I'm like 207, 208. And you can, if the before and after photos are pretty dramatic, because I put on a good bit of, weight and muscle, like, upper body stuff compared to what I was before.
Yeah, so you are like a light heavyweight or a heavyweight. I mean, you could be fighting some big dudes. You go head to head versus Mike Tyson now.
Yeah, the fights wouldn't go well. For me, it's more of it's just more of a look sort of thing,
But it's functional. I mean, it's functional. So I mean,
it is functional. Yeah, it helps out a lot. And so I get I get pretty committed to it. And right. So I go, really, one of the things lately is I've started to kind of cut back a little bit, because I was realizing, like, man, just everything is sore all the time. And I think almost exercising too much is detrimental at some point, and so I actually looked something up to where it says you're supposed to like basically like once, I guess every quarter or so, every calendar year quarter, you need to just take a week off. And I was thinking, gosh, I didn't do that back when I was exercising for 5 or 6 years straight. I don't know that I took a week off in that whole period. So I did that and felt better. And lately, over the last month or so, I've started kind of trying to listen to my body more in terms of if I don't feel well or don't feel like it, I don't force it. And I know there's a lot of times there's a big push, and a lot of people need that sort of push because they can't make themselves go, like they'll find any excuse to like, I don't, I just don't feel like it, but and so I didn't want to do that, but really I'm the opposite. Like that's not my problem. And so I have to be like, okay, maybe it would be better just to take a day off. But so along with doing that in terms of exercise, so basically I do like maybe 3 or so days of cardio and lift weights, 4 or 5. And then of course the other component to it too is your diet. And I'll try to eat. They're really not meals. Maybe one of them is like a true meal where you're eating, like chicken and, bread and vegetables or whatever. But I'll eat like 5 or 6 little small meals a day. But it really, it's more like snacks rather than meals. So it'll be like 2 cups of yogurt or a protein bar. And that's what you can kind of consider a meal. Basically, I consider like a meal as, anything where you're kind of getting 20 or 30 grams of protein in at a time. So,
but help me understand what drives you to want to do this? Like you said, you don't have trouble not doing it. You have trouble, like there's just something in you that just, you always have to get into the gym. You always have to be working out. What is that?
Probably like inferiority complex. I mean, if we're being honest, like, I think some of that just does, because I'm just OCD with just a lot of different things, in terms of, friends would aggravate me about, I've gotten better about my hair. Like, I just want to keep my hair now. If my hair just stays in my head and doesn't fall out, that's fine. But at one, for a long time, I was really just OCD about my hair and stuff like that. And so I think some of it is just that, but I mean, it's not all like detrimental neurosis, I mean, some of it comes from believing that just generally as Americans, we aren't healthy enough, and that it's important to try to, have a good balance between mental, physical, spiritual, all that. So I think it's a combination of positive reasons and negative reasons.
That's good. Thank you for being honest, man. Thank you for sharing like that aspect of it, that it's coming out of a place of wanting to love yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I mean, for a long time, I mean, not only was I always thin, but like in school, like up until, middle school, up until I, really hit puberty, I was also like short too. Like I was literally usually the smallest or the second smallest boy in my class. I was just always tiny. And so I always got, bullied. And so I think part of it just probably comes from that too, is just, wanting to be bigger to the, just out of some kind of holdover from that. But, but not only holdover from that, but too, just like if some sort of situation came up or someone wants to be confrontational with you, like you can they're less likely to want to take you on if they think like, oh, this might not go well for me, so.
That's good. Now Ford, I just talked to you earlier in the podcast about what you said is you want to get away from kind of what Jared's talking about, going to a place and doing the thing, mainly because you said you get bored with it. What do you do for exercise?
Yeah. So
Question.
I guess I started caring about exercise for the first time really in my life. Because of surfing. So before we went to India, I started doing like this breath holding kind of stuff. I'd heard about some lifeguard, not lifeguard. Well, yeah, lifeguard friend of mine, Caleb James. Sorry, lifeguard, Coast Guard friend of mine. Jeez, brain dead. He told me about some of these Coast Guard exercises they would do just to instill confidence in the water. And then I heard some of the Navy exercises they would do. And so we kind of did our own improvised versions of those in a pool. That didn't last too long because we ended up going to India. And in India, I really didn't pay attention to fitness. I'd walk around, and in India, that was pretty good exercise. But then I stumbled upon this opportunity to review a book called The Transformer. It's by this guy named Chris Gethin, and he was the guy that was the personal trainer for Ritik Roshan, one of India's biggest celebrities. And Ritik was doing a movie. I want to say it was for Krish 3. I'm pretty sure that's correct. It was a Indian superhero movie. And so Gethin got involved with some of these high A-list Bollywood actors. One of them was my mind's running blank right now on his name. He's been in some American movies too. He's in Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. He was the villain in Slumdog Millionaire. And my mind's running just totally blank. But anyways, he got in with him and helped him with some stuff. I think it helped his son get bulked up for one of these roles. So they came and premiered Chris's book. And it was basically his memoir up until that point. And it was just all about him trying to be a bodybuilder and this interesting path he followed through life. And I got to interview him for the book review at the book launch, and we just hit it off. He's Welsh, but he lives in America. And I don't know, we just had a pretty good conversation. And I read his book. I was going to be hosting a Mumbai Film and Comic Con the next week. So I read his books in the airport, and I just had it was one of those moments, you just had this kind of I'm sorry, dropped a pen. It was one of those moments you just have like these epiphanies, and I was reading his memoir, and basically the memoir is him coming in second place in these bodybuilding competitions, and all the time, really everyone afterwards like, man, you should have won that. And it's just this frustration of not ever measuring up, but he just kept going. And I just got the sense that I need to take ownership of my physical health. And it was the first time I need to man up on this. And so I finished the whole book. And ironically, Gethin was at Mumbai Film and Comic Con premiering a comic book that he had done with somebody over in India. And so I got to introduce him on stage. And since I had like a personal knowledge of him, like it was probably the best interview I got to do on stage. And it was just, I don't know, lit a fire under me, that whole process. So I decided I'm going to do, you can still find it on YouTube. It's called a 12-week transformation. He's got two of them. One of them's like real hardcore, and the other one is a little more low key. But it's basically every day for 84 days. I think it's right, 12 weeks. He's got a video, and it's like, and you see what he eats, and he does kind of like Jared's saying, these real focused meals. That's more packed protein, complex carbs, and vegetables, and no sugar, no butter, no alcohol. And so I jumped into that. And I think February, sometime around my birthday, 2015, maybe? Or maybe, no, it was 2016. It's 2016, yeah. My last year in India. And that first week was like hell. And I think I might have told you all this. Did I tell you this, Jared?
I don't remember. I
was just having this hellish week. And me and Melissa were watching Hannibal. That was what we would watch at night, and I was eating like broccoli for dessert. Like I was like, that's how I was breaking the diet. I was eating broccoli and carrots. It was like, and by like week 1, like end of week 1, that tasted sweet to me. So it is a testament, like you said, dude, there is real truth to that. And I think it's something I miss out on a lot because I just kind of roll with the punches of whatever the subculture I happen to be around at the time. So, you know, I'm drinking Natty Light now and Monsters and eating, you know, crappy candy bars, like, because that's what
Smoking
everyone does.
cigarettes.
And smoking cigarettes and Black and Milds. Like, I just become what I am around. And like, I mean, I finally, I'd had a Natty Light the other night when I was thirsty, and I was like, oh man, this is great. What has happened to me? It's too late,
What's a Natty
mommy.
Light?
It's too late, mommy. I've seen everything. So anyways, that
I have no idea what is a Natty Light.
Natural Light, it's Budweiser's. I think Budweiser picked them up, but it's like I mean, the stereotype is it's the trashiest of trashy, like, light beers that's basically like drinking water, and, you know, has no taste, and it's like Bud Light, but like Bud Light's a higher tier than Natty Light.
Yeah, it's like Miller High Life around here, I guess. Miller
yeah,
High Life.
I mean, I think Natty is like the below Pabst Blue Ribbon level. I mean, it's just like the ultimate garbage beer. But
I remember John Oliver used to make it. He used to, I think it's John. I can't remember if it's John Stewart or John Oliver, but one of them at one point got into making fun of Bud Light to where it was like 2-week-old Mellow Yellow leaked out of a dumpster.
That's not actually wrong. But the thing is, it is a testament to the human spirit that anything can taste good in the right scenario. So like the other day, we had it on the, me and the Alabama boys, the guys live across the street from me, are doing contracting work right now. And they had some Natty Light. I was so thirsty. It had been a really been a sweaty day. And I cracked that can open and took one sip, and I'm like, oh man, I finally get it. It's like, unless you have sweat and drywall dust on your tongue, you don't actually get the real taste of Natty Light. You know, it's
probably mostly water anyways.
I tasted it, man. It was good. So it's just an experience, you know, it's a cultural artifact. So anyways, it is true. Like, in a certain scenario, when you have other tastes out of your system, all of a sudden things that you didn't really like becomes beautiful. Like India has some amazing varieties of carrots. Goods. I mean, and their fresh vegetables. Oh man, you get them like on the street vendor. They'll be walking around with a little cart and be calling them out in the morning, and you get them. They're so fresh and they're so good. Oh, really good stuff. So anyways, but I was miserable because I was on, you know, I had no sugar in my system, and I was just like, I was going through withdrawals hardcore. Like, I did not know it'd be that bad. I was headaches and so for some reason, the guy who played Martin Keamy on Lost, remember Keamy, the big dude?
Yes.
So he was in a show, The Strain. I think he's like one of the main characters in The Strain, the Guillermo del Toro show. And so he tweeted this one night, like, if you started a new adventure or a new venture, don't give up. For some reason, I was like, thank you for saying that. It really means a lot, man. I've just started a new workout regimen. I want to die. And he tweeted back to me. He said, don't worry, man. Don't give up. It's going to get better or something. And I'm I actually, like, I think I made that my screen or something for a week. Like, so Martin Keamy, the villain from Lost, he was a real encouragement. So anyways, that 6 weeks though, I end up feeling the best I'd ever felt in my life. Like so you know, I talk crap about working out, but on my podcast, but it's really more of a indictment of where we've come as a culture, that we haven't found a way to incorporate this into our regular lives. Like that there's so I don't want like to rob people of that adrenaline rush, you know, because it really does make you feel better. Like, and we need that, because sitting in front of this blue light and doing sedentary stuff all day is just not, it's not good for us as human beings. So we do need that. And so I just think that there is a way to in the next if we can find a way for all these people who have figured out the benefits of fitness and health and eating right, if we can find ways to incorporate that into the flow of commerce and capital, that is not just a consumer act, you know, because going to the gym, you have to pay money. It's like, man, have someone pay you for, you know, exerting that energy. So it's like, if we can find ways to do that, I guess that's the challenge. To me, that's the next challenge, is to find a way to reincorporate it into our social and cultural structures.
Yeah, it's just thinking about that. So like that's a huge challenge.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. And I'm not, again, this is like a lifelong goal, but I think with technology, some things can move very fast. You know, I mean, things overnight, the zeitgeist can shift in the blink of an eye. So I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. All it takes is the right app to figure out, like, I mean, like this iNaturalist app that Alex years already turned me on. Like, it's Pokemon for real species. I mean, I take pictures. I'm amazed at the biodiversity in my little podunk town in Florida. Like, I paid attention to insects and reptiles when I was a kid, but I had no idea. I've seen things. I saw one, landed on my window, and I at first thought it was like a deer fly was going to bite me, or a horsefly or something like that. It's called a, one second, a common picture wing fly. It has like, it looks like a Rorschach ink blot on its wings. It's like a picture on its wings. It's beautiful, weird looking creature. And I think that and it's because of an app, you know, it's because of this capital product that I was able to appreciate the nature around me, like I used to do as a kid. Because I have time as a kid, I'd get those Peterson field guides. I'd be like, "Oh, what species is that?" And I like had little notebooks and crap, and I was like checking them off in the thing. And but now I can do that at the speed of life. Like, I'm, you know, driving, and I'm like taking a picture and able to do it. Like, so there, I think we will
It's a little
figure out
dangerous.
ways. No, you know, I live on the edge.
only for local cyclists.
I live on the edge. Okay, I drove in India, man. It's Mad Max Fury Road, baby. I'm perfectly capable. So, anyways, yeah, you know, I mean, eventually we'll just be, instead of driving cars, we'll be like the Flintstones. You know, you see those new things, instead of bikes, it's like the people walking. Have you seen those? It's like
I don't think I've seen those.
It's like it's almost like you're like jogging, but it's better for your knees, I think. But they have bicycle wheels. And so they like do that. So that's the thing. You're going to power your car. It's like the Flintstones. Like, so you reincorporate fitness while in the vehicle. Yeah. I mean, there'll be weird stuff like that. We'll figure some stuff out.
Yeah, but it seems to be going the opposite way, where I saw somebody coming down the road the other day
with the Segway.
But it was a Segway, but it was like a handleless Segway, right?
Yeah,
it was just the feet part.
Yeah. What do they call those things? The little hoverboard thing. They have a name for them. Yeah, these kids, man, they can do crazy stuff on those. It like freaks me out. They're just flying along.
Yeah. Okay.
The Wicked Witch song, man. Come on.
Well, then we had the dystopian future of Wall-E, you know, like what you're talking about, Judah, you know, where it's going the other way.
Right. Well, you know, I think these things they'll be happening at the same time on different planes, you know. We just gotta be on the right side of that trajectory.
Right. True.
Well, what can we come up with anything like today? Well, as we're talking, can we come up with something like idea wise to help us be more fit in everyday life? Because I'm racking my brain since we talked in the Surfing Balance. I'm just racking my brain to think, what could I do that would actually help my fitness? Because I mean, there's things you could do, but it's not going to keep me from keep me from gaining weight. You know, it's like I could open the door with extra energy. You know, like I don't know, like I'm looking around thinking, like, what is it that I could do that would be useful, that would be, you know.
I'm telling you, the wave of the future, man, is gesture-based communication. So the two things I want to do is play Dance Dance Revolution more and Just Dance, because they're actually, you know, my kids like doing Just Dance. Me and my wife used to do Dance Dance Revolution, and they're really good exercises, cardio, and they're fun. Like, running is not fun. Like, you get to basically get a cardio exercise while you're doing music. And I think that's so those are two things that I'm trying to do if I can ever fit in the time. And then my other idea is to do these cadence run things, which I still have not done since I even mentioned them for the first time. But you know, in the military, they do cadence runs where they have like a song that they sing and it's in rhythm. So it's like, it's almost like they're making art, quote unquote, but it's really just to distract the mind so they're not thinking about their bodily pain. But you incorporate that with music where it's like a run dance. It's like it's a run dance where you have like little challenges that are more intellectual. So they do that in football, right? Like they'll have like certain types of drills. You gotta like, you know, step, you know, like do like little stutter step things, and you run to this thing, and you know, patterns, like passing patterns. And so it's a cognitive stimulus, not just a physical stimulus. You know, you do certain things when the whistle blows, so it's rhythmic, right? And all sports are rhythmic to some degree or another. So I'm saying let's take out all those like these abstractions of the things and just get back to the actual thing. Like if music works well with physical exertion, why don't we just make physical exertion dance that gets back to music, and it's fun, you know, and I think, and to some degree or another, Taibo and all those things were doing that, but it was still mediated through an expert. Whereas we could just all do our own things. You know, you don't need Peloton. You could just do it wherever you are.
Yeah. Well, and that would be, I guess, maybe my biggest piece of advice for people would be to find something that you can do that works for you. Because, you know, I mean, I'm able to go to the gym as much as I want. I don't have home obligations in terms of, you know, a family. But some people can't spend 5 or 6 days a week at an hour to 2 hours in the gym. They've got young kids at home or whatever. So I think most of the advice I would have would be, you know, to find what works for you, not only because everybody's bodies are different and are going to respond differently, but also because your life circumstances are going to be different. So, you know, if you can go to the gym, you know, if you don't have a job where you get a ton of physical exercise, go to the gym if you can. If you can't go to the gym, try to buy, you know, a home treadmill or home weightlifting set or whatever. If you can't do those things, if you can take your kids in the stroller or the dog or whatever for a walk, if you can just get going, I think at some level, a lot of times that's the hardest thing, because initially at first it sucks a lot. It's rough, especially if you've been pretty sedentary. Your body definitely feels that effect at first, but just like Ford was talking about with his diet, when he felt great after doing it for a while. And it's kind of the same thing with exercise. You start noticing just feeling better, you know. Just the human body is just designed to respond well to a certain amount of trauma, you know, whether it's our immune system. You know, the way we build antibodies is by, you know, you get sick. The way you know, your lungs get stronger or your muscles get stronger or whatever is by basically, well, in the case of your muscles, breaking them down and
tearing them.
Yeah, tearing them down and building them back up again. And you know, it releases endorphins and, you know, all these things. So eventually you'll start to like it. I think most people will, if you do it long enough.
Yep.
But the hard thing is just that initial push with it.
Well, and I saw some kind of infographic or whatever pointing out that there's dopamine and there's serotonin. You know, these are two chemicals that are pumped in our brain to make us feel good. Dopamine you could get from watching Netflix, taking drugs, alcohol, these things. Serotonin is more natural. It's harder to create, but it comes. That's the kind. That's what pumps when you run, when you work on something really hard and you accomplish it. Certain task completion will create serotonin in your brain, and it's harder to make, but it also goes away a lot slower. Whereas dopamine It's in and out. Easy come, easy
Mm.
go. Serotonin stays in your body for a while, like it stays
Interesting.
in your brain.
And maybe that's
what
why.
others?
Interesting. Like, how long have you been doing the workout, Jared? Like your kind of current regimen?
Going on a year and a half.
Okay. See, yeah, and I feel like both of us just feel better.
Yeah.
Like I've been working a manual labor job. You've been working out and done an incredible job with that. So it's like, I think we're both just, it's made our conversations, even when we disagree, like less adversarial, I think. I don't know. I feel like there's a truth to it, right? Like,
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think.
Yeah. Another way you can get it is through diet, like starving yourself.
True.
Like when you like, it'll pump serotonin into your brain. It's like a balance. I think there's a better balance of chemicals when you're working out, when you're eating right, when you're healthy. There's a better balance of chemicals in your head. I have a friend who struggles with bipolar tendencies. I don't know if he's been diagnosed, but his doctor put him on a new regimen, diet, no sugar mainly, and losing weight has made him just a lot more just level. Like he told me he just feels more right here rather than when before he was up here and down here. What are you guys laughing about?
I'm laughing at Ford laughing.
I'm sorry. This meme came it was from the Democrat debate. It's just
I'm sorry.
Sorry, my bad.
I thought Ford was laughing because he thought that you might be talking about him or something. I don't know.
I have this friend who used to
right.
freak out all the time. Ever since he's had this manual labor job, a lot more level-headed.
Right. Oh man, sorry. There's so many good memes. I'll say that for this Democratic debate. Like, if we can keep this meme train going, maybe it's worth just doing one every night. I don't know.
I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed the debates, not because of anything they said, but yeah,
I haven't even watched 1 minute of them, but I've just seen everyone's posts. Even people who like even Democrats are becoming good. Was like, okay, maybe this is what we needed.
Do we want to just do a hard quick shift to that?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm being serious.
Well, I think we can all agree that fitness is important, and we just let's keep going onward and upward.
Yeah.
Just like Yang says. No, just kidding. But I did watch the debates, most of them, and the first one was just completely boring.
Yeah,
felt like Elizabeth Warren came out of it pretty well. Just her and the nice looking lady from Hawaii. What's her name?
Tulsi, man, she's the best, dude. Tulsi.
Yeah,
she's anti-war. I could almost imagine voting for her. Tulsi.
Well, and then the second debate was just crazy. So the first debate, what was the Spanish thing, man? That was out of control.
That's one of the most memed things.
Out of control.
Oh, my favorite one is
I saw one that was like, so what is your position, Beto? What is your position on taxes? And he says, I speak Spanish. And they say that doesn't answer the question. Yo español, or so yo habla español.
Did you see the one of the, I haven't really seen many of the memes, but did you see the one of the gif of, or the clip of Biden reacting to Bernie's like hand coming over into his
oh no, I didn't see that one.
Yeah, Biden's just like
Here's my favorite one. Bernie Sanders pacing around his hotel room, rubbing his temples, muttering, Los millonarios, Medicare por todos, over and over again.
Nice.
Oh man.
Well, it was interesting to watch. They would pose these questions to them. Well, my favorite one, and I put this on Facebook, was how the moderators would say, as president, what are you going to do day 1, hour 1 to blah, blah, blah. And I posted that and I said, you know what they're going to be doing? They're going to be having inauguration parties all day. Maybe ask them what they're going to be doing in about like hour 7 of day 2. Maybe we'll get around to thinking up some policies. Maybe then. Yeah.
It was all these like 1 to 2 word answers, guys. 1 to 2 word answers. What?
Yeah. Well, yeah, the format
is terrible.
It's just way too
so bad, man.
It's way too many. It's way too many of them. The lady Williamson, the lady in the second debate. Most of them I knew who they were running. Like I saw one tweet about it was I think it was Bennett from the senator from Colorado, and like people are like, who's this? Is this an audience member that just wandered up on stage? And like, but the funny part to me about that was like, here, he's one of like 100 senators, in one of the most important bodies in America. And, and someone's like basically making a joke from their own ignorance. But like Williamson, who is she? She's an author or something to that effect, and is talking about.
That's all it said. It says whatever Marion Williamson author. That's what did she author? What did she write?
Yeah, I don't know. And she was just, some of the things that she would say were actually, pretty good in terms of like,
right. She had people on a lot of like the two. So what do they call them? So you got the frog Twitter. So that's like the more, pro-Trump, neo-reaction, X4chan Twitter, that was real controversial. But then the core of the counterpoint to them would be the Chapo Trap House people. And that like both sides, and they like hate each other's guts, right? Like Chapo Trap House side, they call themselves the dirtbag left. They can't stand, this side. But I think both sides actually kind of liked Marianne because she just would say some crazy stuff, she would. And one of the things she said, and I can't remember which one it was, but it was one of these calling out American exceptionalism in a way that appealed to both sides. That's pretty hard to do. And that's one of the things that Trump was able to do with his Twitter thing. It's like, it made the 58-year-old vet happy and also the 17-year-old who's frustrated with Gamergate happy. Like that's one of the things that brought like Trump, like that's a pretty hard demographic spread to hit at with the same tweet. And so she had a lot of those things in her. I mean, I'm seeing her being memed like crazy right now. It's kind of,
yeah, I told somebody don't sleep on her. That she could easily be the Trump of the Democratic Party.
Because she's not Trump. That's what's interesting. She has this much more like, it's just interesting. I don't know. It's different.
Well, she got a lot of attention in terms of like entertainment value and humor. Right. I don't see her gaining any real traction. I wasn't saying I think she's going to gain any traction, but I mean, my point was, I thought it was interesting because she would say some really relevant things. And then would say some like really far out there stuff, she'd like talking about, how her first phone call in office was going to be to the Prime Minister of New Zealand, to talk about how love will, conquer all. It was just something like really random, but she made like one point I remember was she was talking about how like when they're getting into all these specific policies, like all the details of these specific policies. And she said, Trump didn't win based on specific policies. Trump won a good chunk of what propelled him was saying, "Make America great again." And unless I'm giving her too much credit for what she intended or was saying, like basically was like just keep the message somewhat simple and drive it home. And I'm like, yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, but that's hard to do when you have 20 candidates. It's like if everybody is just like, how are you going to keep America, a good place? It's just, they have to get into the minutia in order to distance themselves from each other.
Well, somewhat, but I mean, it's really more like Kamala Harris didn't distance or didn't, get a bump in the polls from specific policies. she found her moment where, or at least with the Twitter audience, where people were, eager and waiting, to praise her, for taking down the evil old white man. And so she just tore Biden apart based on him opposing busing back in the 70s. And she had that ready to roll. Like, her social media team had the photo of her as a child to put up on her social media account, pinned it as her pinned tweet, literally the moment that she said that, and so people are like, oh, this great takedown. Like, no, this was a very organized, calculated sort of political hit, and the Twitter audience was just eager and waiting for it to be able to say, oh yeah, we don't want the this out of touch old white man. So so I don't know. I mean, some people care about policies, but it's just kind of almost in a lot of ways, it's just the opposite side of the coin from the right and the Trump phenomenon, of where there's just certain things that people are looking for that really isn't related to policy that people want to hear, that's going to propel a candidate.
Well, and the thing that I found particularly repulsive was when Biden and Hildenbrand, or whatever her name is, a lot of people kept talking about, well, what I did, and I was able, and I was the senator. Nobody cares about that. I don't think that persuades anyone.
So much of it is so self-congratulatory, and it's an outmoded way. And that's what I mean, why I wouldn't write Mary Ann off at this point, because we are in a totally different environment now where people are tired of being marketed to all the time. And it's just kind of like, if you can meme, you're in a much better place. And we're a post-Trump world, and you don't want to do it exactly like Trump. And I think that was AOC's problem, is she tried to be the counter Trump, just using Twitter and just saying everything that came into her mind. It's like, now she's just getting memed on hardcore. So like, whereas I think Mary and Kamala is just using Twitter, like you said, almost as a muckraking, a way to do muckraking or something like that. Whereas Marianne is using it. I mean, of course, people are dredging her Twitter stream, and it's all this weird stuff, but it's kind of like endearing, in her own way. So it's like, I don't know. I think a personality, I honestly wouldn't write her or Yang off. Yang did not have a great debate, but I think in a way he didn't have a great debate because of how structured against him it was. It's just, they're rewarding the powers that be with that type of debate, and people are just getting sick of that. It's like, let these people talk, and like you said, let's get a narrower field. Really, at this point, what should happen is Chapo, Joe Rogan, and a handful of others should just have 1v1 debates on podcasts. No production. No production costs. You're not going to have any sort of like interruptions like MSNBC had, these technical difficulties. Rogan never has a technical difficulty in a show. So just have Rogan do a 1v1 Tulsi versus Yang. That would be great. He's had Tulsi on twice. He's had Yang on at least once. I can have a real discussion and get into the nitty gritty. That's where you can get some real interesting discussions, and they don't have to like do this. I heard Buttigieg have a pretty I disagree with him. It's just he's not my cup of tea, but politically. But there was even something he said from a policy perspective. I was like, oh, that's actually interesting. Like, let's get to that. Like, and if a cis white dude can agree with you on something that's from a policy perspective, then you're probably going to find a broader range of people. Like, let's get into that kind of discussion. Let's have more dynamic discussions. And you can do that through podcasts, not through ad-supported garbage debates by CNBC and CNN and all these, or MSNBC, blah, blah, blah. So, I think that's something everyone could probably get behind.
I agree.
So I'm trying to figure out, there was this, okay, go ahead. I'll look for this.
What are you looking for?
No, just y'all continue on.
I don't know. We're sort of at the end of our time here, and we've been all over the place. But
it's that natural transition from exercise and nutrition right into the Democratic debate.
We should have just gone straight in the Democratic debate. I didn't even think about it. But
I thought about it, but I thought, I talk too much politics as it is. I'm not going to be the one to bring it up.
Well, who do you think, like, just after this week, who do you think has the best chance of beating Trump?
You know, I am just hesitant to try to predict any kind of politics after 2016. My thought all along up to this point has been, if somehow Biden could get the nomination, it always comes down to, a handful of states that's really going to make the difference. We know there's a ton of states that are going to go Republican, a ton that are going to go Democrat, and it's going to take something really unexpected to swing that. And Trump did that. In 2016, he did swing some states that weren't expected to go his way. But part of how he won was the unfavorability rating of Hillary Clinton. And so, taking that into account and the swing states into account, I thought, maybe if Biden got the nomination and you've got a handful of states where it comes down to, maybe he could beat him, but who knows? Maybe the exact opposite is true. Maybe the most leftist candidate would have a better shot. I really don't know, but that was my initial thought, but I don't know if he'll be able to. He's never going to debate well. Kamala Harris debates well because she's an attorney. I mean, she's used to making a case, whether the evidence is on her side or not. It's why, Ben Shapiro and Megyn Kelly and Laura Ingraham and all these people from a law background can, do well in their format as political pundits, because whether or not the evidence is on their side, they can shape the narrative to fit that. So I think Kamala is going to be able to do really well in these debates, and I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm at the point where I'm almost rooting for someone like Bernie or Warren. I feel like, I was talking to my dad about this earlier. I feel like we've talked about the subsidizing malice, and so I think to a certain extent, these mainstream politicians that are in now. I mean, obviously Trump's not really mainstream, but a lot of the mainstream force within our political debate is just subsidizing. It's just keeping it status quo. It's just keeping it going, and I would love to see somebody come in and try some of these harebrained ideas.
Yeah, well, I would
even
rather
if they
have,
destroy everything.
Oh, well, that's why I'd rather have Marianne or Yang or Tulsi than Warren or Bernie. Bernie, he's just, well, I'd like someone young and idealistic to give it a try. I mean, I think that would be an interesting dynamic, like presidential race. Like, there's a lot of people in the middle, and in the, like, those frog Twitter people who I've been universally decried as Nazis. Anybody who was on the other side of the Gamer Gate debate, they're just cis white Nazi, white nationalists or whatever. But they would, a lot of them would vote for Yang, and some of them might vote for Marianne, some of them might vote for Tulsi. So I feel like those are opportunities for the left to get some fresh ideas in the mix. Like, Bernie doesn't even understand Marx. Like, he's just a hippie. He's a hippie trying to water down Marx. Like, we need someone who actually understands Marx, and I think that next generation could.
Yeah, I think Bernie's moment has passed. We'll see, but I don't think he wins it.
Do you think he'll be, like, in these next round of polls? Do you think he'll even be in the top 5?
I would think he would still be in the top 5. I don't know if he'll be in the top 3. I don't know if I don't even know if he has been in the top 3, and because the way Warren surged with Biden and Warren, and then Harris or maybe Buttigieg or something. I don't know in the last polls if Bernie even has been
Bernie's
top
second.
3. But,
Bernie's been second.
He has been second. Okay.
Yeah, all through until this week. It'd be interesting. Everybody thinks Harris is going to go to number 1. I don't think so. I think there's a push.
No, she doesn't have a chance. I don't understand people thinking she has a chance.
She'll jump, but I mean her numbers will boost. But
she was at like 4%.
Yeah,
like
it'll go up, but I mean it might double to it might get around 10% or something. But I think there's been, everything that I've heard was a lot of people outside of the Twitter crowd. A lot of people, didn't like what she did with Biden,
Right.
So I think it's going to hurt her too.
Well, do you think Biden will be dethroned as the number? He was like 15 points ahead of everybody.
I don't. Something's wrong about those. I don't. Who are people still that stupid in 2019? Just because he was a vice president, they automatically just say, "Well, he was attached to Obama." Like, what did he do when he was with Obama? Like, who likes that guy? He's got the hashtag Me Too thing against him. All those memes of him touching people. Like, I don't understand. How can he even still be a consideration at this point?
I think there's a lot of Democrats that, well, I don't know if there's a lot, but I think
just holding the line sort of mentality,
holding the line, and some sort of return to
normalcy,
quote unquote normalcy. Right.
It's just that is idiotic. And if you'd have told me 10 years ago that the Democratic Party would self-destruct, I would have been like, yeah, right. And then, just the fact that in 2019 Biden is even a consideration is just monumentally idiotic to me. He's everything they claim to stand against: an old cis white man who touches women. What are you doing? I don't get it.
Well, but do you think though that just sort of underlines, because especially by the right, a lot of the left gets accused of just being almost the whole left gets accused of being this far left spectrum, socialist, Bernie supporters. But do you think that just sort of reflects the split within that party, or within the party?
Yeah, maybe so. I think, they did miss their moment with Bernie, because it was just like, let's go with the status quo. Hillary's an established name. She has pedigree. Let's go with the status quo. And I'll never forget the look on Bernie's face when she was like, congratulating him for, falling on his sword. And the look on his face is just like, oh man, it's horrible. Like I don't even like, even as not a Bernie fan, I hate thinking about that. Just like that moment.
Yeah. Yeah. So, the fact that Hillary won last time, you would assume that in 4 years, the party has probably shifted more to the left. But, with the hatred for Trump, and just the fact that we're in sort of a uncharted anything goes territory, I am just wondering if you've got some people from the center or center right that would, that's giving Biden a boost. It could turn out to be just all a smokescreen. Right. Nobody actually, cares about Biden, and somehow the polls are just wrong, like they were in 2016. But like I said, for all the, as much as the whole Democratic Party gets accused of being these, far left socialists, Hillary proved that there is this desire for the status quo, know.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, yeah, but she cheated her way there. Here's the thing.
It's true.
I think
that's true. Yeah.
The polls have a feedback loop that is important here, because when people think about the people who is running, they think of a stair step, and they think, well, I know who Biden is, and I know who Bernie is. I kind of know who Elizabeth. You can see how like the ones at the top are the ones that people know who they are. So it's it's name, but it's also the devil, Like the reason Biden is running so far ahead of everybody is because it's like he was vice president. Like, what's the worst he could do? Like he did a good enough job as vice president. If Obama had died, he would have been president. Like, what's wrong with him? Everybody else is like crazy town, or I have no idea who they are. Yang? What? Never even seen him in my life.
Yeah. Yeah, I first heard of him when Ford brought him up in
Me
a
too.
podcast. I'm like, wait, there's a Yang running for president,
Oh,
And,
really? Y'all aren't familiar with the Yang Gang? See,
No.
it's right-wing Twitter that turned me on to,
there you
to
go.
Yang Gang. That's the irony. And that was actually a big schism. This schism happened about, I don't know, 8 months ago or so. Well, no, it was a little bit later than that. It was right after Yang. Man, everything happened so fast. Everything's so compressed now. Yang appeared on Rogan and he pitched universal basic income. And when that happened, you had a segment of right-wing Twitter.
I had heard about him. Yeah, I had heard about him.
Yeah. A segment of right-wing Twitter was like, "Yay, UBI, $1,000 extra for everyone," and people that I had otherwise respect for, and me and my hatred of modern monetary theory and going off of this moving from cash-based economy to credit-based economy to now numbers on a screen-based economy. Like for me, that's the greatest threat. Like we're going to end up like Zimbabwe, like we're going to have $1 trillion bills, carrying around. It's like, oh yes, you get $1,000 the first month, but that $1,000 is worth 100 by month 12. That's my whole thinking about it. And so, but you have very smart people who I really have a lot of respect for. I mean, like intellectually being like totally jumping on so Yang started memeing 4 or 5 months ago. I mean, they started coming out with these Yang memes and like Twitter, these group of otherwise lockstep, not necessarily lockstep, but very similar culturally people, all of a sudden, like we're having these feuds on Twitter. It was really interesting. And so now people have a little bit better humor about it. So everyone's kind of come back, but there's people on left and right of some of these divides that are, like a little buddy about that. So it's, I don't know. It is interesting seeing things move at the speed of light in terms of politics and seeing some otherwise unexpected alliances, I guess.
So did you see the latest thing he's done? Yang is he offered $1,000 a month to whoever, like a random person, whoever retweets his tweet.
Yeah, that's right. So some of them are approving this as another sort of good marketing scheme. Just hey, if you just buy the votes. Which is literally what's been happening all along. I mean, let's be real. I mean, people have been buying votes for
I have no problem with
just mediated between in terms of marketing, what's
but his presence on the at the debates, he's gonna have to figure out how to hack the debates.
I think he just needs to just take his suit off and just be topless. Start doing crazy stuff. Let's just go for it, baby. We're in clown world. I mean, someone said so one of the guys I follow on Twitter, he said that that Trump is most likely going to win 2020, and then it's going to be, I can't remember the candidates he said. And so here's my prediction. Trump wins the popular vote in 2020, and then in 2024, here it is. You ready? Here's the two different parties. The Rock versus Kanye. That'll be the 2024 election. And in which case, I say, let's just go full crazy here. I mean, I think Rogan should run, let's just get everyone out there. I mean,
it probably will be President Rock in 2024. I'm not even joking. Like he's talked about it.
The Rock
totally happened. It could totally happen.
The Rock,
Dwayne Johnson.
Yeah. And
look, if Dwayne Johnson ran, I would vote for him. I wouldn't even think about it.
Really? You would vote for him? What if he ran against Trump?
Dude, I was talking about not really worried about Warren being president. I think The Rock, Dwayne Johnson.
The Rock's popular, and he's one of those. He's one of those guys. If you've ever heard of what was it you called? It was something like the athlete race draft or something like that, where back before all the controversy around Colin Kaepernick came up, back when he was doing pretty well, it was like there was a joke about everybody wanting to or trying to draft Colin Kaepernick their race because they didn't know what actual race he was, and it's almost kind of like that with The Rock, even though we know he's got the Samoan background and everything, there's enough stuff there that like you could just kind of be like, oh, I think he's part of,
Yeah, we all claim him. Yeah.
Right. I think he would probably win in a landslide. Yeah.
I think he could do it.
Yeah.
I was saying, the strongest person against Trump would have been Oprah, but she didn't want to run. I was kind of surprised. I felt like she could. I mean, listen. Oprah is the most lucrative entertainer on the planet Earth. Mm-hmm. She's worth more than Jackie Chan, Tom Cruise, Shah Rukh Khan.
You know why she's so lucrative?
Why's that?
Because she didn't run for president.
Yeah.
That's a good way to ruin her.
She's just like, you know what? I ain't going there. But
yeah.
I feel like she actually would have a chance. Yeah. I mean, her audience base is enormous.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to be president, though.
No,
I mean,
I think most sane people
don't want to be
president. Yeah.
Oh man, that would be some memes though. Oprah versus Trump.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
Right.
The Rock.
Oh yeah, The Rock's guy. If he runs, just forget about it. My brother predicted that Trump would win way long time ago when he was just starting and then he predicted. So in the video we did about that, like after Trump got elected, he predicted that in 2020 Trump would get rid of Pence and take on Kanye as his vice president.
Dude, I like the Trump. Yeah, I'm definitely for the Trump Kanye ticket. I'm all for it.
All right. Well, we've gotten to the sublime. It's time to say goodbye. What do we take away from this? Anything?
Keep working out.
Look, The Rock. That's what we're bringing back.
There we go. You don't want to look like. You may like Bernie Sanders' policies, but let's be honest. You want to look like The Rock.
Oh gosh, what do we take away from this? I don't know. Hard left turns can happen.
Hey.
in podcasts.
Yeah,
everywhere. All right, guys. Well, guys, get out there. There's a lot of work to do.
Make your own myth.
Keep moving forward.
Ooh, we should do a